What
This
go?
meeting is being recorded.
Got it. Hello, everyone. Welcome to SIG K8s-Infra. This is our bi-weekly meeting. This meeting is under the CNCF Code of Conduct and short, be excellent to each other. This meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded to YouTube later. So first up, we have our recurring billing report reviews. Need to get a screen share going for that. Arno's been doing these for so long.
Let me make you co-host.
Let me see.
Co-host. Yep.
This one. Okay. So it'll load. Doesn't look like anything too unexpected. Pretty flat. Like this used to load faster, though I'm usually looking at the later pages in this. Month to date's probably not going to tell us a lot, but we could look. Well,
I guess it's only 6 days.
yeah, we can set it to the past month. I suspect that was already fairly representative, though. It doesn't look like we have any major shifts going on. So about 5% for the redirector. That's probably mostly logs, which we could probably turn down. I like to see that we've actually gotten to the point where a fifth or so is just other and not any one thing taking a big chunk out of it. And yeah, I don't think there's anything too surprising here. And it looks like meeting participants are all recurring participants, so we probably don't need to go over what all the projects are and so on. And pretty small sample size, but looks like mostly trending down. So I think the gist of it is the GCP spend is looking about like what we expected. There's no real major shifts and everything looks pretty fine for the moment. We should probably move on to looking at the AWS bill. I think I saw Arnaud join. Arnaud, are you prepared to present that? I can, but it will take me a little bit longer to I don't have AWS set up on this machine.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
Oh, on that note about AWS, I'm almost ready with the Okta integration stuff, so it'll be very easy to access the entire AWS estate with various different levels, different access levels, depending on the group that you've joined. And I am going to make the user provisioning as well as the group membership changes driven through Terraform. The rest of the stack though will be manually created by hand, like the applications and security policies and all that stuff.
We'll
Yeah,
need
that sounds great.
a list of URLs, Mohammed. I don't know where to go click on what for the Okta stuff.
Oh, so there's one URL that you have to worry about. It's called auth.case.io.
Okay.
That's the main
Can,
Okta.
can we not diverge? Can we not diverge for a minute?
Yeah, all right. All right. Once you're ready, we'll get back on point.
Are you ready to share the bill?
Yes, sir. Why I feel like you're gonna yell at me, Ben?
No. Just in the meantime, I think until we're at that point, it's useful to know that we're hopefully going to streamline the actual setting up access and stuff.
No, yeah, sorry. Oh, skipping through. I'm gonna be a little confused because they basically changed the UI since last week. So forgive me if I basically click on stuff randomly. Okay. Okay, I think we want to go last 3 months. Yeah, last 3 months. Yes. Sorry for being late first. I think the 2 last months, I'm excluding December because we began December. So the 2 last months we were over budget because we're still in the development phase. We were in the development phase for the scalability test on AWS, based on the conversation we had with teams on Slack last week. I think we're done. So the one thing I did, it was like move the interval of execution from 12 hours to 24. That should basically cut the cost for that test by, I think, half or something like that.
But how much is that test costing us? I mean, we actually were running that test every 12 hours on GCP until we had the crunch this year. So, I mean, maybe we can alternate clouds or something, but
I would
that's an
not
expenditure I
compare.
would expect to fit.
Yeah, I think we should not try to compare what we have with GCP because
Well, did we just lose?
We did. He dropped off, but there's an important question that's worth asking. The 5K scale test, right? What does it cost in terms of VCP and memory, right? Because we should have a good idea of what that is, because that's a function of number of nodes times instance type times how long that thing takes to run.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was looking for. Is we were talking about cutting the cost on it already, but we didn't talk about how much it costs.
I don't recall it costing that much on GCP. We used to run it there last year.
Yeah, we cut it down just because it was one of the few large costs we actually could. Like, it was one of the easiest levers after the registry stuff, but it wasn't because it was at least from my point of view, it wasn't because it was an unreasonable expense. It was just an expense that we could actually control quickly. It wasn't that much. We cut some other scale tests that were a little bit less clear where we were running moderate scale and pre-submit, and we said we can probably get away with that, and I think that has panned out fine. We haven't had major regressions without having those in pre-submit. But the periodics, I would like to work those in, because they're one of the few places where we get performance data for the project. We have the perf dash pulling data from those, and it's relevant for all of the SIGs to make sure that we're not regressing. And it's like Kubernetes has long stated that the open source project, at least, like standard Kubernetes distro, supports 5,000 nodes. Some vendors may offer more or less, but Kubernetes has a stated target for 5,000. So it's kind of hard to stand by that if we don't test it.
Sorry, Zoom crashed on me. I don't know what happened.
So I went back, I'm just going to do card billing in front of me. In November 2021, the 5K Moscow scale project only costed some $30,000 a month. So something is fishy with the AWS figures.
Well,
I
I don't
think-
think we
I
got
think
the
the-
numbers. Did we actually get a number for how much we think this is costing?
We can break that down if you want. That's possible. The problem, I don't want to say the problem, is basically I don't want to compare AWS and GCP. Those are two different
But
billings.
that's, well, I mean, but we are going to choose scheduling the 5K node between them, and we'd like to do both. But more importantly, I'm not looking to compare the providers. I'm looking to compare the different costs that we have in Amazon. I suspect that the 5K node is actually not that big of a chunk of our spend, and that we've increased spending elsewhere. Maybe PKGS, maybe other general CI.
No, that's our biggest. Basically, I can share my screen because that we ran the 5K nodes on only one account, and that in the Cost Explorer, if you go there, that's basically our biggest cost. It's just one job cost, basically take the entire basically half of the budget.
But we need numbers. We need to talk about what
is the number in November, Arno? That's the question.
Well,
basically,
November has the development costs, right? Which were really
no,
elevated.
it doesn't. It doesn't.
Okay.
no.
Can we go back to a more important question, which is, what does a single run of a 5K node cost? Like,
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll divide it by. We'll take the November, and we are running it twice a day. So, and we know the number of days. So
we were running twice a day, and it was costing us something like 260. I mean, let me break that down quickly.
No. There was a reason why I was asking that question, because what you normally do as a customer is you open a price calculator, you put in there the number of VMs you want to create, the disk, and all that stuff, and then it spits out a number, right? But it would cost to run.
Yeah, I suspect we're
That's
doing
what we
something wrong here. Like so we did do things with how we configured the 5K node clusters on GCP to make them manageable. If you run a straightforward Kubernetes cluster, it's very easy to wind up getting costs that we don't need for scale testing. Like, for example, having public IPs on each of the worker nodes or something. So we actually should compare the cost between them, because if one's way out of line, I don't think we're comparing the vendor cost. We're comparing, how we're configuring it. It's almost certainly going to be something other than like the difference in pricing for CPUs or something. It's not going to be that. It's going to be something about how we've actually configured the cluster, or if we're failing to clean it up or something like that. They shouldn't be that. They should, it shouldn't cost like 10x to run the 5K node test on one versus the other. If that's happening, we're doing something wrong.
Okay, Ben, give it a sec. Let's get the number.
Let me figure this out quickly. So I would say in the last week, we were basically running almost 3,000 per day. And that basically cover all the server in one account. Since yesterday, I think we now spend 600. Now, if I break it down per usage type here per day, I would say we basically run 10. What do we break out? What's the biggest cost here? It was like
instance type T3A large.
Yeah, T3A large. Basically, we run like just compute.
Wait, that doesn't make sense though, right? Look at the cost difference though.
Between here and here,
you run it half as frequent. I think you were running it twice, and now you're running it once. I was expecting that cost to half.
Are there two jobs? Were there two jobs, Arno? Or was it one?
Basically, December 5 is one job. December 4 is like the two run. So I'm pretty sure about that. Now the question is like basically because we run just once a day, what change? Maybe there's basically failure because I think the test is flaky. So there might be something wrong in the test itself that basically make run like 2,000 per day.
Can you give me the number, the total cost in November? Because since we're talking about flakiness now.
Total cost in November is like
I also
if
think
filter.
flakiness has nothing to do with the cost conversation.
Yeah, just let's
All
get
right,
that.
fine.
Give me a sec. Yeah,
So yeah, that's November, just November.
just November is 142K, so
Yeah.
142.
And later, I think now we basically run once a day. I think I'm basically looking at basically the cost for just one run per day. We're gonna cut the cost by half, but literally, like we're gonna basically have like 75,000 or something like that, and even less.
So sorry, that's only November?
Yeah.
So for comparison, November last year on GCP and the 5K node project, we spent under 24K. So we're almost certainly doing something wrong.
No, we don't do things wrong. It's because the control plane, the cost for the control plane on AWS is different than the control plane on GCP.
No, but
just
but these are not this is not a GKE cluster, right? Like we're running compute for the control plane.
So the units, basically the cost of basically one instance on EC2 is different on GCP.
Okay, but we're selecting our instances and things. There's no reason that it would cost. I mean, this is like an order
GCP,
of magnitude more.
Are they like for like instances, or are they actually very different?
Yeah, it's different because
they're not identical, but I mean, I'm not going to pretend that GCP is like an order of magnitude cheaper.
No, when I say like,
doesn't seem right.
What I'm saying is, let's say the node was running 4 cores and 16 gigs of memory. I assume you picked a similar size instance on AWS with.
That's what I'm saying. I suspect we didn't.
Yeah, so in order to make the test running, we have to pick a specific instance type, which is different than the one we use in GCP. There's no matching in terms of instance type. And the second thing is like we have discount in GCP, which is something we don't have on AWS.
I still wouldn't expect the difference between 23K and 142K.
Yeah, in that case, we should wait because now we have a run per day. We can basically see the number in beginning of January and try to investigate what's wrong. If the goal is basically trying to match the total cost of what we have at GCP.
No. The goal is not matching the cost. The goal is making sure that we're spending effectively. And it seems very likely that we are not effectively configuring this 5K node cluster if it's costing us this much more.
Ben, all we did was get the damn thing running, and we stopped, like so that we get some data out over a month period of time, right?
Sure.
We did not tune it because it was extremely finicky, and as the point was already made that the instance type had to be bumped up for it to be stable and things like that. So we just want to get some numbers for a period of time, and then we'll start tweaking it. The first step that we've done is reduce the number of times we run per day. So let's keep it running and for at least December, and then compare it in January.
Sure, but I guess what I'm getting at is that, I mean, we only have so much room to reduce how often we run it. We're only running it twice a day. It will stop being useful if we run it like weekly or something. So I think the actual follow-up here is to look at what we can do to make it cheaper per run.
I hear you, Ben. I just want some data out, and Marco is pointing out that it's been failing for a few weeks too.
Yeah,
so,
but I mean, if it's consuming like half of our budget and it's costing us way more than it costs on GCP, then like we clearly have some follow-up to optimize the run.
We are not ready yet, Ben. I want it to be stable. I want it to run for a period of time, and then we'll make that decision on what to do after that.
Okay. So we'll take the action to go cut how frequent it runs?
We already did that.
When did we do that?
Last week.
Okay. I'm just concerned because the last week of data already shows that we're running at approximately the annual run rate, and we're going into 2023 or 2024 that way. So I think we need to look at where can we bring it under the budget a bit. And
Ben,
it looks like this is the single most expensive thing.
Yeah, Ben, when the frequency was reduced, the cost went down 80%. So there's still something not right in that story that needs further investigation.
Right. So there's that, but also like if we're saying, okay, well, we reduced it and that's all we're going to do right now. I mean, the data from last week still suggests that we're spending awfully close to our budget. So we will, I mean, we'll need to find somewhere else.
The new figure is a fifth of what's on the screen right now, is the new expected figure.
No, so I'm saying the data from the past week, which should, for the most part, include this because we changed this last week. So it should already be more or less factored into last week's data. And last week's data had us at a like 2.978 run rate based on just extrapolating that to 52 weeks. That's really close. So if we can't cut it here, we need to cut it somewhere else. It seems like there should be room to cut it here. And Adolfo's had his hand up for a bit.
Well, maybe it's a dumb question, but yeah, I understand that it runs infrequently enough, it becomes useless, but what's the least frequent it can run?
I would say we have to do once a day, but we can go down to twice a week or thrice a week.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, so one of the goals was to be able to run this sort of test on like the clouds that we have credits for. So we can schedule alternating runs or something like that.
To be able to do that, we have to have reliability on the CI jobs, which is what I'm trying to get to. And the other thing is, like, I'm not worried about this year because this year we are not anywhere close to finishing the budget. So if we have some trial and error, we can do till end of December, and then we can get back on the horse for the next year.
I disagree a little bit. I think we should be getting to a good run rate before the year starts. Because what we had this past year on GCP
what do you want to do, Ben? Should we just shut off the job? I don't think I want to do that.
I don't want to do that either. I think we should look at if there's any like glaring cost issues with it. We already reduced the frequency, so we did that one. And we should look at the rest of the bill and see if there's anything we can do with that other 50%.
Perfect.
I think, yeah. Can we open an issue where basically we flag spending 75,000 for December is a problem, and we start investigating the test itself, and how we can improve that.
That's one, but I would really like to come away from our meeting today with a plan for what we're going to do to not go into next year burning above, because we just did this year on GCP, and it was not fun entering the year burning really high and then trying to drag it down before the year went over. We're in December now. This may be our last meeting for the year. We should.
Oh, it's the last one for me. I'm not available in 2 weeks.
So we should look at the bill now and see if there's anything else in here that we can touch. So this is clearly one of them. We should look into what options we have for the scale tests.
And I think you're right about this, and we can do that now and have like, if we have no ticker, we can just go for basically the 4.
What is AWS
most expensive
Playground?
Can we go one by one, Ben?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Can you please show the 3 months again? Because this is only December.
Okay. Oh, sorry, 3 months. So okay. The first one, I think we agree. We have now a run rate of once a day. So we basically, I think the AI is to look into that in January and see how the spend went on during December. I think we can take that as a AI for January.
Yeah, I do want to make sure that the job is running and it's doing what it is supposed to be doing, and then tune it.
I think we don't. I think we basically we were over budget, and by basically switching that to one brand, we're going to be under budget for the moment. And then for the next 3 months, we're going to be under budget and in some level, and at some level, the budget may be more than 50%, and that's fine until January.
Okay, let's leave it at 1 run a day, right? But we still have a
Yeah.
lot of open questions that kind of need to be answered, and we should probably put that
And
in
we
question.
we can do that async. We don't need to do that in
Yeah,
this
I agree
meeting.
with
That's
you
what I'm
guys.
saying.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
that's what I'm saying.
we do need to get that answered. I mean, I mean, consuming like half of the budget is massive.
Yeah. Again, if we can open an issue, one issue per project, and say, okay, this is the issue we have, this is the AI we want to do, and having those questions, and we can figure that async, because we only have like 20-30 minutes to go over the entire meeting.
Sure, I'm filing an issue for that one. Can we look at
Yeah.
the next item?
Yeah, okay. This account is basically used to serve the layers for bridge.ksatire. So in order to do that, in order to reduce costs here, we need to basically add more AWS region. And I've been working on this. So this is my goal for next year, finish that. So the bucket that already exists is just now we need to configure and make sure we can, Geranos can push to an S3 bucket, and we do replication over the S3 region. There's one impact is we need to add more AR region in order to cover more region on S3. So we reduce the cost here, and we had some costs on GCP. It's not big because we are not going to have 10 region. I think add 4 more regions should be enough to reduce the cost. If you tag well.
Is it possible to see more months? Because from what we see here, there's like a very minor cost increase trend, but probably not something we can easily do more about.
Yes.
As for adding more regions, right? That is linked to the SIG release project that Adolfo and others are working on. So that kind of needs to be hashed out before we do that.
Yeah, that's basically I was mentioning the cost impact, but also the technical impact is having more region might be impactful for the release process, because we're struggling pushing all the layers over the entire network. So basically, I think this is something
we don't push all the layers. We
we
only copy in new layers.
To S3.
Yeah.
To S3, but during promotion, we basically push to also AR repository. And
yeah, but those are not on this bill.
I'm not talking about cost impact. I'm talking about technical impact, because I think basically during the promotion process for one release, we might hit quota limit again, because we have like too much AR registries. So yes, this one we need to add more regions here. I don't think there's like a technical blocker to that.
But do we know that that's actually going to shift the cost? Like, I mean, do we have data that says we're serving lots of cross-region traffic or something like that?
No, we pay on AI is going to be the cost for hosting.
No, but
basically
on Amazon,
yeah,
do we have data that says we will be cutting costs because we are serving cross-region traffic, and we could be not doing that? Because if not, this is a distraction.
Yeah, we have data. I need to pull that out, but we have. I did some investigation on this, and I'm pretty sure basically we pay a lot because some of our user pull from is like a cross region. Yeah, it's a cross region cost.
There should be a line entry about egress to other regions from specific regions.
I need to dig into the billing, the cost is per.
Okay, cool. We'll leave that with you.
Yeah.
So something else to point out here, February is when we changed to default, so you can see a big jump there. But everything after February is just some kind of cost increase from like increased user usage or something like that. Somewhere in there, we did the K8s GCR redirect, and I can't find yet what was the actual date that went into effect. But
I think it was like between April and May. I'm pretty sure.
so
I
I
remember.
think the
Replace
cost
people keep them.
increases
Yeah.
we're seeing here are just from more users moving over, and
Yeah.
unless we think we can dramatically re-architect, we're not going to shift this cost a lot, and we should probably move on to the next one.
Okay, good. So yeah, and we have an issue tracking this. I'm gonna just comment on basically which region I would like to add and why we need to add that. K8s-Infra Pro is mostly about basically the instance type you use. We use 4x/ instance. I think if we go down to 2x instances, it's gonna basically help us reduce the bill.
Okay, I would like to provide a few feedback items on that one. So we installed KubeCost today. That's the first thing, and some initial things that we are seeing from it is that our jobs are requesting way too much resources than are actually needed. Like, I think that the actual utilization of resources is in 15 and 20% compared to what is actually requested by jobs. That's also what the dashboard that we deployed at the beginning for jobs that we use for migration said as well, that jobs are requesting way too many resources. That would be a blocker to using smaller instance types, because basically there are jobs that can fit those smaller instance types. We could try experimenting with Carpenter instead of Cluster Autoscaler, because Cluster Autoscaler doesn't support mixed instance types, and we could eventually try to like use smaller instance types for jobs that are not requesting many resources and using bigger resource size, but with smaller amount with jobs that are, not that are needing that resources.
When you say way too
So
much resource, are you saying as related to what they're actually using, or like what determines that it's too much?
yeah, for example, you have a job requesting 8 gigabytes of RAM, but actually you need 2 gigabytes of RAM.
In that case, in either case, we need to reduce the instance that we use on EKS basically to match the one to basically be close to one we have on GK, and not tell to people that we have a large amount of resource you can use. We need to force people to reduce the cost by basically say we reduce our capacity to provide resourcing and focus on that before we do job optimization. We
shouldn't need to reduce the machine size. The total size of the cluster we're paying for is always going to be based on the amount that we're trying to schedule. If we can give contributors actionable information about, hey, your job is requesting 10 gigs and it's using 5 gigs. Can you request 5 gigs? Then they may be able to. That said, memory is probably not our limiting factor. My experience, we're almost always the cluster size that we're scaling up on CPU. And so if we can tell people how much it, like that one, I would expect most jobs are actually going to use all of what they request. And the amount of memory that they get is just based on the shape that we pick for relationship between CPU and memory.
Yeah, but we
just be whatever's cost effective.
Yeah, but we basically for each job, we never go beyond 32 gigabytes of request for one job. We never went. So why do we?
I'm saying so memory is for scheduling CI workloads. Memory is like a ratio to CPU, and CPU is generally going to be the bottleneck. I mean, that's also how like cloud machine types work. So I don't think reducing memory requests is going to result in a smaller cluster. We could revisit the ratio of memory to CPU, and we can look at if there's jobs that are requesting CPU they're not using, but I would be kind of surprised to see that. what I'm saying is that if they request some memory and they don't allocate all of it, that doesn't necessarily mean we have an easy room to cut costs. Like your cloud provider is going to give you like they're able to give you some ratio or like a higher ratio, but usually you can't like massively change the ratio and have like a super trivial amount of memory versus the cores because they're running these on actual machines underneath. So we haven't really had a lot of room in the past to reduce costs by the memory allocations, but the CPU allocations is something we can play off with. Those don't necessarily free us up resources either, though, because most CI jobs are running something like Go test that's pretty parallel, and giving them less cores just makes them run longer. And we use the total amount of compute either way. Scheduling less jobs works.
There are use case. I think I saw a use case where basically some of the jobs are basically CPU intensive, where they basically use the entire CPU, the entire number of CPU per request.
Right, but if we do actually find some jobs that are requesting like 8 cores and using 2 of them, then we should, we should ask people to fix that. And if we have a dashboard people can look at, we can shard this out and ask people to investigate. But I would just put some caution on you're not going and trying to reduce the requests everywhere doesn't necessarily reduce the amount of compute time that we're paying for. Does that make sense?
Ben, question: is there a way to figure out like which job, what is the max, what is the CPU max used, or something like that?
There is something like that in dashboard, but it is really hard to figure out because, as Ben said, when you have parallel jobs, they're going to use all the CPU that is offered.
Right.
So it's only going to like provide, it's going to increase the time needed for that job. But maybe there are some non-parallel that they're using like only 2 CPUs out of 8, and that can be seen from the dashboard. But from my experience, that is very rare. I maybe seen one such job or something like that.
Ideally, we would surface some like metrics, but it would probably wind up being something a little bit custom because Pro is weird in that it schedules one-off pods. And most of these tools are aimed at like, deployments and things. So seeing historical information is not great. And that's been that's what I'm saying. I think that's been one of the driving factors. If you're authoring a CI job in the project, there has not been a good way to have visibility into this. The Pro on-call team, some of us used to be a little bit more hands-on with tuning this stuff, but that just has not scaled. And also those folks don't have as much time now. We need an answer where the people in the project can look at how their jobs are actually behaving and right size them. But
I think we have the dashboard for that, but people are not looking to that, or basically are not taking action.
Oh, well, I'm not aware of a dashboard that I can look at that sees that information, so that doesn't surprise me.
Is that the right dashboard, Marco?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so we have a dashboard basically showing.
You have to share it out though, and show people how to use it. I've never used this.
Maybe we can at some point record a quick demo and then send it to the mailing list like KDev leads and stuff like that, and ask people to take a look at their jobs.
Yeah, I mean,
because
SIG testing meeting demo would be a great start to start circulating this, but I don't think this is probably going to be a quick way for us to bring costs in. So I think that's kind of a long-term item that we should be able to improve that, but I don't think we're going to like go it, we're not going to reach January and have really shifted this.
Okay, so this is a follow-up on with what exactly?
Let's show people how they can see what their jobs are using and encourage them to consider adjusting allocations if appropriate.
Okay.
As action item, sorry, Arno. I propose that I can, or I will see about that to see how many jobs we have over 32 gigabytes RAM, and to see based on that, like if we can reduce that and reduce the instance type, And another thing to see, like if we have optimization, if we need SSDs, if we can drop some cost on that or on EBS storage or stuff like that. I think there's plenty of improvement that short term can provide maybe 2 or 3K per month or something like that, which is not a lot, but is some start. And it's short term.
So what is this next item?
To look into the next item of the bill.
Yeah. What is this
Yeah.
playground account?
So
Oh,
it's not really
that's-
playground, it's just the name. Don't get this is the account where we run SIG node tests.
Okay. And that's
We
not like in
aim to
Boscos or
rename
something?
that, sorry?
And that's not like a Boscos pool or something.
No, we are not.
Are we
using
leaking runs?
No, we have janitors running everywhere. I
Okay.
just put on janitor in one of the things where
That
we had
works.
custom janitor
Cool.
last weekend.
Wishful thinking. That's one of the things we've seen in the
there's an
past.
open issue to rename this account, so
Yes.
we're
Sure.
very clear
No,
with that.
I just
The other thing
want to
is
know.
Boscos and AWS is a bit funny. I don't think the node runner uses Bosco. Actually, it does, but I don't think we've configured for AWS. But there is a janitor active on his account, so we don't leak anything.
Yeah, that's what Dims is saying. That's fine. It's just, again, in the past, one of the easy cost things we've had is when CI is using like a fixed project or account, and then as a result isn't getting like the Boscos janitor stuff and like leaked runs is like pretty low hanging fruit usually. But it sounds like that's not the case here. So
Yeah.
Next.
Yeah, personal opinion,
no,
I'm not a
wait.
big fan of Boscos on AWS at all. Partly IAM is a bit funny. And if we use janitors with reasonable TTLs and resources, it's not a problem. Cops is a good example. They do everything in a single account, but the thing that launches the test launches it in all the zones that are available on the account. We bump the quarters in all of them, and there's an aggressive janitor on that account, so we don't leak anything.
Yeah, but Dims was saying we have a janitor on this account, so
We do. We have on this one. Take a look if the other ones are not there.
Okay.
I do have a question about this account. Why do we use 4 type of generation? We use 2 type, yeah, 3 generation of MCS.
I'm
Why?
experimenting at this point. Arno. So I'm having some issues with I think today I made a change to bump the ARM one as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll probably
the
bring
idea
it back down, but I just want to make sure that the CPU and memory are not the ones causing the problem. Like the ARM job is taking 3 times as long as the AMD 64. So I gave it extra oomph to see if that helps. If it doesn't, then I'm just going to bring it back down.
Okay. Because I think we should basically just use 2 generations of 3, so we minimize cost. But if you're saying is you doing something, that's fine.
So, yeah, we'll end up with 1 setting for ARM and 1 setting for AMD. So so basically 2 instance types.
Okay. Okay. Break this down. And if I go down again, the last one is share. Yeah, that's James. I think that was a migration.
Yep.
If I remember correctly. Yeah. Basically,
Yeah,
there was
so this is the one that is used for all the CI jobs for the AWS star repositories in Kubernetes SIGs.
Okay. Do we want to do something about that, Ben?
So, what is it used for again?
You know how we have AWS star repositories in Kubernetes 6?
Yeah.
CSI driver and load balancer and cloud provider and etc. So we had an account in AWS created like 5 years ago that was still being used. So about 6 months ago or 7 months ago, I shifted them over to, by creating a new account here.
Yeah, but so I mean, I'm looking at this and I'm seeing November was 254,745.
The
So
top one.
right,
No, you're looking at the scale, right?
I'm saying that's the total cost, and this cost is 6,348. So we're talking about 2.5% by the time we've made it this far down the list.
Yeah.
I think it's reasonable for Amazon projects to spend 2.5% testing Amazon repos on the Amazon account. I think that what I've gotten so far is that we really should look at the scale stuff. I don't think we have an easy way to do something with the registry stuff, but that's
I'm
like
totally
50%.
with you, Ben. Here is the problem, right?
Yeah.
Like we don't have enough people who know the scalability test inside out to do the work that is required on the CI job. We do have Harish who has been helping from the AWS side, but I think we'll need some more people to get to know the scalability job.
Yeah.
At this point, right? Like we literally have a team of people in Poland taking care of the scalability jobs, and like we have like 25% of one person working on this
we
one.
had we they're we don't have a scale team anymore.
Yeah, I know. Still, people are there, and
yeah, they're helping out in the project, but there isn't a they're just doing it anyhow.
The investment is just not there, right? So we have to figure that out.
Yeah, but if we can't get the investment there, I mean, we could turn it off.
Sorry, folks.
And that's the worst case scenario, and that's why I was saying that for this year I'm not worried, but for next year I think we'll have to make a hard decision at that point.
Oh yeah, I hear you. It's just next year's around the corner.
We have a limited amount of time.
Can we look in like a week or two when we've clearly got data from changing the frequency, and if it's still consuming like half the budget, can we drop it to like every other day or something while we figure it out?
Here is the other problem, right? Like if I tell Harish to go look at this job, he'll make some tweaks and try to rerun it again, and then the cost will go up. So that is the other problem.
Can we investigate costs without? Like
I need the job to be stable first before looking at the cost, right? So I was looking at the failures, and since November 20th, so I need it back on its feet first.
But I wouldn't expect the test failures to affect the cost.
Ben, we have 9 minutes less before end of the minute.
But I got the yes, scalability #1 priority. We need to do something about it. I'll figure out how to do it. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think other option is like basically reduce again the interval run. Basically, go for once a day to 3 times a week.
Yep.
We can have that for like 3 months, and that's gonna help basically keep us with a certain amount of budget for the rest of the year. We can agree on that.
I have one question.
Okay. Can we move to the other subject because we have 8 minutes left, or do we want to be overtime?
No, overtime is fine.
Okay.
Yeah, overtime is fine.
Okay. Before we go, some of those accounts will be go away in between February and March because they are basically unused and I started to delete them. So that's gonna be also some kind of cost improvement because they have resources running for no reason. So I think it's like gonna be around 3K of savings if those account goes away.
Can we check one last thing on the bill? Because these are all getting really, really, really small percentages. Where's the PKGS? Which project is that?
OBS, this one.
So for now, that's really small. We should keep an eye on that. We'll probably get more users switching when the legacy packages go down, and we should keep a close eye on that one going into next year. But that looks
okay.
Awesome.
And that's it.
Now.
And that's an AI for Marco. Can you ping us on each meetings like we check this, Marco?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I will do.
So, Marco, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, as for that OBS thing, I will try to do the analysis of logs that we agreed yesterday on SIG K8s meeting, and that's going to give us some data. So we will see how much the old repos are taking the traffic, and I will make sure like to do that by end of week or something like that, beginning of next week, so that we have it. I wanted to ask for scalability because if we start going into development phase, does it make sense to disable the test for now? Because we could easily go over 200 or 300K per month if we have to run it like several times a day to test it, because we will need to figure that out and we will need to.
Development for this account is basically currently stopped, so we don't intend to basically restart development for December and January at least. I think that's what James was saying, trying to like, and we can even reduce the runtime. I think the goal here is like make sure basically the data we get from that test is going to the perf dashboard. So I think the EKS team gets some kind of data, but add something to the test. Basically, we should not doing that right away, at least for the next 2 months.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Anything else? Can we do quick? Do we want? Well, okay, we are over. We are okay about being over time. Do we want to basically go like? I don't want to go in order in the meeting. Just pick specific and speak quickly about that. I think the 3 last one are basically 5 minutes updates. I think. Yeah, we covered this. Well, the entire meeting was about this. I think that's fine. So we can start the way. So, Marco, can we go with the EKS prod cluster?
I think this has been being moved from meeting to meeting, but I think we are doing much better on the stability issue as we don't have that node failure since switching to Bottle Rocket, which is quite good, and we will stay with Bottle Rocket for now. What we need to look into is fixing PROW because the nodes are being evicted, and that's affecting PROW jobs that are running longer because the pod disruption budget is actually not effective. This is something that we still need to look into and that we should probably bring into SIG testing to see how we can solve that. I was busy a lot with, yeah, sorry.
We need the pods to not be evicted. I would expect that to be configured in the cluster.
And
I mean,
that's a
otherwise it's
responsibility.
resource requests and limits.
That's a responsibility of the cluster autoscaler and also the scheduler, not PROW.
Yeah, PROW is just
The
scheduling the
PROW
pod, and users are setting requests and limits as appropriate so that they don't get evicted for like excessive resource usage or something.
Yeah, it's not getting for excessive resource usage, but more for reasons like cluster autoscaling, for example, node being underutilized, and then it evicts that node to delete it. What PROW needs to do here is to put a notation on pods that's actually going to prevent cluster autoscaler to do that.
I mean, we could do it in PROW. Why can't we configure this autoscaler for like the namespace or something?
Well, I don't feel I should look into that, but I think the annotation way is the best one.
Is the annotation a fixed value? If so, then I can point
Yes.
you to a way to just apply that to all of our pods.
Yes,
I'd be a
it
little bit
is.
concerned about we should confirm that that's not going to change the behavior on the GKE clusters.
Yeah, I know. That's what I worried about because I was thinking putting it in the preset, the default one, and then having it applied everywhere, but that might affect GK as well, and I'm not sure in what way.
Can we basically try to investigate by excluding the possibility. Can we basically look first at the control plane, like basically make sure it's not it's not AKS scheduler that basically doing this / the autoscaler.
We are sure that it is cluster autoscaler.
Okay, in that case,
Let's
maybe, yeah.
let's start an async thread to dive into the issues. I don't think we're going to solve this in the remaining like minutes people have, but
Okay.
like we have some options. There's some clunky ones. Like if you think that an annotation could fix it, if we think it's safe on all of the clusters, we can put it in the default one. If we don't think it's safe on all the clusters, we could just make an annotation that a preset that you're supposed to add to EKS clusters, and we could add a check in the system for unit tests to make people manually do that. Ideally, if it's something like that, though, that's specific to the cluster, we figure out a way to just offload that into the cluster instead of having to sprinkle it on all of our pods, depending on which cluster they schedule to. I like, ideally, our pods should just be pods and they should work in whatever cluster. And if we need to tune things on the cluster side, we should do it on the cluster side.
Yeah. I wanted to implement a feature to allow doing it on cluster level, but yeah, I guess that might not be really needed long term if this turns out to work. We definitely want to apply it to GKE as well.
Also, if we switch to Carpenter, to Carpenter, then the problem might go away because reasons. Like I feel like basically the way Carpenter evicts pods before the replacement of the node might change. So do we think like a preset will solve the problem if we basically change the way we do autoscaling later?
I mean, we need to tune the autoscaler. I mean, it may be a flawed assumption, but Pro was built under the assumption that that like pods that are properly configuring resource requests are not going to it's going to be a relatively rare occurrence that they get evicted, and that like disruption budgets and so on will be respected. So if we don't have that, I think we need to see what we can tune a cluster. I mean, we also have the option of like a mutating webhook or something. We should start a tracking issue somewhere, or a thread.
I have linked a thread from earlier where I described the issue. I am.
So it's Karen.
I've got to run, but I don't think we should need to change Prow for this. But if we really have to, then we can start a thread in SIG testing. Thanks everyone for looking at this, and hopefully we'll sort out the scale stuff soon, and I'll leave you all.
Okay, yeah. As an action item, I will follow up again with a new thread, and then we can discuss this.
Okay, next, Mario.
Just the last few things. What's the latest on that stability issues? I do see occasionally that pods do get evicted. I thought that was kind of resolved.
Yeah, that's because of the issue that I mentioned with the autoscaler.
Oh, okay.